Transformation doesn't take a decade. It doesn't wait for a miracle. It begins with one powerful choice, a real decision. Not one of those half decisions where you say, let's see how it goes, but a final one where you say, this is it, no more, I change now. 3 months. That's all. 90 days of a committed mind can do what 90 years of wishful thinking never will. But the catch is, it has to be real. No testing the water. You don't transform by dipping a toe. You jump in. You burn the bridge behind you and say, I'm not going back. I'm not tolerating average anymore. I remember when I made that kind of decision. I was broke, discouraged, and full of excuses, and then someone asked me a question that shook me. He said, are you going to keep blaming the government, your upbringing, your lack of resources, or are you finally going to take responsibility? And I had to face the truth. I had been waiting for life to hand me a break, when in fact life had been waiting for me to decide. Once I decided, I didn't ask for comfort anymore. I asked for the challenge. I welcomed the discipline. I started waking up earlier, reading more, saving a little money even when it was tight. And the results didn't come overnight, but I'll tell you what did come overnight: clarity. Suddenly, I was no longer confused about what needed to change. I just needed to become the kind of person who wouldn't settle. Here's the problem most people have. They make soft decisions. They say they want change, but they leave the back door open. They say, I'll start eating healthy, but they leave the cookies in the cabinet. That's not a decision. That's a wish wrapped in convenience. Real change begins when you remove the escape routes. When you say, this is it. I don't care how I feel tomorrow morning. I don't care how long it takes. I am changing. You want a new life? Then make a new commitment. Not the kind you make with your mouth, the kind you make with your calendar. Let your schedule prove your seriousness. Put in the effort, make the calls, do the reps, and if it gets hard, good. That's the price of transformation. Comfort is the enemy of growth, and if you want something you've never had, you're going to have to become someone you've never been. Now here's the beautiful part. Once you make that decision, the world begins to cooperate. Opportunities show up. People respond to your certainty. But none of it happens until you flip that internal switch and say, no more average, no more delay. I am not a tree. I am moving forward. Don't wait for a perfect time. There isn't one. And don't wait for motivation. It's unreliable. What you need is a reason. And once you have that reason, burn the excuses and step into the fire of change. You'll be surprised how quickly life will adjust when you finally stop negotiating with your old self. 3 months. Decide today, act daily, and in 90 days, you won't recognize yourself. All it takes is the courage to say, I've had enough, and the discipline to follow through. Let this be the moment where you draw the line and say, I will not go back to the old version of me, because the life you want isn't waiting at the end of a wish, it's waiting at the end of a decision. If you really want to know where someone's headed in life, you don't need to read their resume, just observe their daily routine. Because success isn't found in the extraordinary things we do once in a while. It's hidden in the little things we do every single day. Your day is your future in miniature. And if you want a new future, you got to start by designing a new day. I like to say that a good life is built by good seasons are built by good months, months by weeks, and weeks by days. So if you want a transformation, stop chasing events and start shaping your daily agenda. What you do today matters. What you repeat tomorrow compounds, and eventually what started as a simple change becomes a complete reinvention. When I was just starting out, my mentor didn't ask me for a 5-year plan. He asked me what I did with my mornings. That shocked me. I thought success came from grand strategy or some hidden secret. But he said, Jim, your morning is the rudder of the day. If you lose it, you drift. That stuck with me. So let me ask you, how do your mornings look? Do you own them? Or do they own you? Do you start the day with intention or with reaction? Because here's what I learned. If the first hour of your day belongs to chaos, then don't be surprised when your whole life feels out of order. The first victory of the day is waking up with purpose. Before the world makes demands on you, you must make demands of yourself. So I started waking up an hour earlier, and that hour I split into 3 simple investments. 1 for the mind, 1 for the body, and 1 for the wallet. I'd read something to stretch my thinking, books, philosophy, ideas that stirred my vision. Then I'd do something for the body, a walk, a jog, maybe just some stretching. Then I'd review my goals, check my budget, write down what value I'd create today to grow my wealth. Nothing fancy, just intentional. And I'll tell you what happened, not overnight, but steadily, I began to feel powerful again, in control. My mind got sharper, my energy more consistent, my decisions more aligned with the future I wanted. Because I was no longer just reacting to life, I was building it, brick by brick, routine by routine. The truth is, discipline isn't just about big sacrifices. It's mostly about tiny, repeated efforts. People say they want transformation, but they won't even change their morning habits. They want wealth, but don't track their time. They want to succeed, but don't even schedule thinking time. And the greatest tragedy? Most people have never actually designed their day, they just inherited it. It was handed to them by the demands of others or the inertia of old habits. So if you're serious about transformation in the next 3 months, don't start with a to-do list. Start with a blank sheet of paper and ask yourself, what kind of day would a wealthy, disciplined, successful version of me live? Then build it backwards. Where would you wake up? What would you read? Who would you meet? What would you sell? What would you ignore? Because your life changes when you change your structure, not just your goal. Track your time, not to judge yourself, but to become conscious. Awareness is the beginning of all improvement. You'll be shocked at how much time gets lost in meaningless repetition, checking the phone, scrolling, distractions. Start guarding your minutes like you guard your money, because, in fact, time is wealth. It just hasn't been converted yet. And here's the secret. Once you build a strong daily routine, you don't have to rely on motivation. You've built momentum. Motivation fades. But routines carry you. You don't have to ask, do I feel like doing it? You just do it because that's who you've become. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight. Just start small. Win the morning. Start reading 10 pages a day. Save $10. Do 10 push-ups. Call one prospect. Just start. Because success doesn't show up in leaps, it creeps in through consistency. And don't forget, your daily routine is not just about productivity, it's about identity. Every time you wake up and do what you said you would do, you build trust with yourself. And belief in yourself is the engine of every other achievement. So design a day that honors your goals, not your excuses. Craft a schedule that reflects the person you want to become. Because when your routine is aligned with your vision, the results become inevitable. Day by day, step by step, you won't just be changing your schedule, you'll be rewriting your story. Let me tell you, if you truly want transformation in just 3 months, the first place you need to go is within. Real change doesn't start at the gym or in your bank account or even in your habits, not first. It starts in your philosophy, and your philosophy is shaped by what you feed your mind. You wouldn't expect a strong body by living on soda and candy. Likewise, you can't expect a strong, wealthy, focused mind if you're living on mental junk food, gossip, mindless scrolling, and meaningless distractions. Now, here's something I always say. Miss a meal, but not your reading. Because if your stomach can go a few hours without food, your mind cannot afford a few hours without nourishment. And what you feed it every day determines what it produces. You feed your mind gossip, fear, and drama, it'll produce insecurity, hesitation, and excuses. But if you feed it wisdom, truth, and inspiration, it'll produce clarity, confidence, and courage. During these 3 months of transformation, make it a goal to intentionally consume ideas that make you better. Start your mornings with a book, not your phone. Read something that challenges you, stretches you, makes you think differently. Get around timeless wisdom. It could be a book on discipline, finance, philosophy, or biographies of those who've walked the path of success. But don't read casually. Read like your life depends on it, because it does. And don't just read, reflect. Highlight sentences, underline quotes, and then ask yourself, how does this apply to me? Sit with a journal and write what you're learning. Rewrite your patterns. Rewrite your thinking. Maybe up until now you've said, I'm not consistent, or I've never been disciplined. Now's the time to write a different story. Because the pen is in your hand, but you've got to use it consciously. I remember when I was struggling, broke, lost, unsure of what's next, someone handed me a book and said, this changed my life. I didn't understand what that meant until I read it and found myself in those pages. The ideas were like seeds, and each one planted began to change the way I looked at work, money, and potential. That was the beginning of my transformation. Not the bank balance, not the job offer, the books. So if you want 3 months that change the direction of your life, begin by changing the direction of your attention. Feed your mind with rich, intentional daily nutrition, because what you put in will shape what you put out. And if you fill yourself with greatness long enough, you will no longer settle for anything less. Let me give you a simple truth that too many people overlook. Focus creates power. You can't hit 10 targets with one arrow, and yet, that's how most people try to approach change. They scatter their efforts, chase multiple goals, and wonder why nothing moves. If you really want transformation in 3 months, then here's what you must do. Set one clear major goal and give it everything you've got. Now, I don't mean a small, convenient goal. I'm talking about one that stretches you, excites you, maybe even scares you a little. The kind of goal that, if achieved, would shift your identity, your income, your health, or your discipline. Just one. Because one goal, deeply committed to, will do more for you than 10 ideas left halfway done. Here's the key: clarity. Get specific. If your goal is to get in shape, define it. Lose 20 pounds, build muscle, run 5 miles every morning. If it's financial, how much do you want to save or earn in 90 days? If it's about personal development, what new discipline are you building? Whatever it is, make it crystal clear, because clarity gives energy. When you know exactly what you're going after, your mind begins to organize itself around that pursuit. You start noticing opportunities, tools, people, all aligning with your goal. And don't forget this: discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. That bridge isn't built in one day. It's built one brick at a time. You don't get overwhelmed thinking about the 90 days ahead. You focus on this day. What can I do today to move toward that one major goal? If you do that for 90 days, you'll be amazed at what happens. Focused effort compounds. A single page written daily becomes a book. A workout every morning becomes a transformation. A phone call every afternoon becomes a thriving business. You see, the problem is not that people don't set goals. It's that they set too many and give too little. Spread thin, distracted, and half-committed, they wonder why they stay in the same place. But when you commit to one goal with your full attention, you unlock a power most never experience. Momentum. I've watched it happen again and again. A man who decided he would save $10,000 in 90 days. He gave up eating out, picked up a part-time gig, sold a few things he didn't need, and tracked every dollar. Was it hard? Of course. But by the end of those 3 months, not only did he have his savings, he had a new identity. He started to believe in his ability to create wealth, not just survive. Or the woman who decided her one goal would be to build the habit of waking up at 5 a.m. every day, no exceptions. She built her entire routine around that one change. In 3 months, she had a morning ritual, started journaling, reading, and exercising, and by doing so, she found clarity in every area of her life. That's what happens when you stop trying to change everything and instead commit to one thing. So ask yourself, what one major goal could change your life if I gave it 90 days of focused effort? Once you have your answer, don't hesitate. Don't debate it. Commit to it. Write it down, break it into daily actions, and track your progress like your future depends on it, because it does. You give 90 days to one clear goal, and that goal will give you back a new version of yourself. One that knows what focus really feels like. If you're serious about transformation, you must develop the discipline of tracking. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient, relentlessly. Why? Because what gets measured improves. What you don't track fades into memory and excuses. Now let me tell you something from experience. People don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack a mirror. A system to reflect back what they're actually doing with their time, their effort, and their opportunities. I remember when I first committed to personal development, one of the most powerful changes I made wasn't a big philosophical breakthrough. It was carrying a small notebook. Every day I wrote down what I read, how I felt, what I did, what I didn't do, and what I learned. And do you know what happened? I became brutally honest with myself. That notebook wouldn't lie to me. It wouldn't let me forget how many days I skipped reading or how many excuses I made. It held me accountable, and accountability is the foundation of discipline. Some people think they're working hard until they track. Some think they're improving until they measure. Numbers reveal truth. Writing exposes patterns. Tracking eliminates wishful thinking and replaces it with clarity. You think your habits are strong? Track them. You think you're putting in the effort? Log your hours. You think you're consistent? Look at your record. The moment you start tracking, you either get proud or you get serious. Either way, you get better. Use anything. Just don't rely on memory. Get a whiteboard in your room. Keep a journal in your bag. Use an app on your phone. Print a progress sheet and hang it on your wall. Make your life visual. When you can see your effort, your mind begins to connect with your goals in a more powerful way. Your brain starts to associate wins with action and losses with avoidance. That's when change becomes automatic. Let's say your goal is to build a business in 90 days. Track your calls. Track your hours of deep work. Track every dollar earned and every lesson learned. If your goal is to lose weight, track your meals, workouts, and even water intake. If it's mental transformation, track your reading, reflection, and daily affirmations. Don't just live, measure how you live. Let me warn you, though, tracking is simple but not easy. It's easy to say, I'll write it down tomorrow. It's easy to pretend you're doing more than you are. But if you really want to multiply your results, you've got to do more than talk about change. You've got to collect the data that tells the story. When you write it down, you can improve it, and what you improve, you can scale. I once mentored a young man who wanted to double his income in 3 months. I asked him to track everything: calls, meetings, income, expenses, time on social media, hours asleep. After 1 week, he said, I had no idea I was this inconsistent. That was his turning point. Awareness created change. He doubled his income in 60 days, not because he worked harder, but because he worked smarter, thanks to tracking. Now here's the beauty of this habit. Once you start tracking, motivation begins to follow progress. And when motivation follows progress, momentum is born. You start wanting to do more because you can see the reward. You start pushing harder because the proof is right there in front of you. No guessing, no vague intentions, just truth. And truth sets you free. So if you want to transform your life in 3 months, don't just move. Measure. Don't just act. Record, don't just wish. Track, because the moment you track relentlessly, you stop lying to yourself and start building something real. There's something you must understand if you're serious about transformation. Your emotions cannot be in charge. Now, I'm not saying don't feel. We're human. We feel joy, fear, doubt, anger, enthusiasm, and fatigue. That's normal. But the difference between those who transform and those who stay stuck is simple. Winners act in spite of their emotions, not because of them. See, the trap most people fall into is waiting to feel good before doing good. They wait for motivation. They wait to be excited. They wait until they're in the right mood. But let me tell you something. 3 months of transformation won't give you that luxury. Some days you'll be tired. Some days the results won't come fast enough. Some days people will doubt you. And worst of all, some days you will doubt you. That's when emotional discipline must take the wheel. I remember a season in my life when I was rebuilding from scratch. No applause, no momentum, no big wins yet. Just small, quiet, lonely actions repeated daily. What kept me going wasn't excitement. It was discipline, emotional discipline. I had to learn to treat my feelings like children. Acknowledge them, yes, but don't let them drive the car. Because if you let discouragement drive, you'll quit. If you let fear drive, you'll shrink. If you let doubt drive, you'll sabotage every good thing coming your way. You must train yourself to take action, regardless of how you feel. Get up and read, even if your mind says, sleep in. Hit your goals, even when your emotions say, take a break. Encourage someone else, even when you feel empty. Because here's the truth. Feelings follow action, not the other way around. You don't feel confident first, then act boldly. You act boldly, and then confidence catches up. That's how emotional discipline works. Let me give you something practical. Create a non-negotiable list for yourself. These are the actions you commit to no matter what. Rain or shine, motivation or no motivation. These are the disciplines that define the new you. Maybe it's a 6 a.m. wake-up, 30 minutes of reading, tracking your habits, 1 new client call a day. Whatever it is, don't let your emotions talk you out of it. Make that list your contract with your future self. Another piece of wisdom. Don't fight to eliminate negative emotion. That's a losing game. Instead, learn to overrule them. When fear whispers, "What if you fail?" you speak back, "What if I succeed?" When laziness says, "Skip today," you respond, "I don't skip on the future I'm building." Emotional discipline isn't about being emotionless. It's about responding with truth, not reacting with weakness. Think of a storm at sea. A ship without a strong anchor will drift, no matter how well built it is. Your discipline is that anchor. And in 3 months of focused transformation, there will be storms, disappointments, delays, and internal resistance. But if your anchor holds, you don't drift. You stay, you build, you grow. I've known brilliant people with no discipline, and they stay broke. I've seen talented people controlled by emotions, and they stay stuck. But I've also seen average people do extraordinary things because they mastered themselves. That's the secret. Control your emotions, and you can control your future. So don't make your decisions based on moods. Make them based on mission. Don't let your feelings dictate your habits. Let your habits reshape your feelings. And when others quit because they don't feel like continuing, you keep building. You keep climbing. And by the end of 3 months, they'll wonder how you did it. Simple. You disciplined your emotions, and that made you unstoppable. Next, comfort is the enemy of change. Now, that may sound harsh, but let it settle in for a moment. If you want to transform in the next 3 months, really change the course of your life, you have to become familiar with discomfort. You have to get used to saying no to things that feel good now, but steal from your future. Growth never comes wrapped in convenience. It comes wrapped in sacrifice. Let me tell you something I've learned over the years. Every meaningful breakthrough I've experienced in my life required me to trade comfort for momentum. I had to give up lazy mornings for productive ones. I had to stop seeking approval from others and start approving of myself through consistent effort. I had to say no to quick pleasures like wasting time, mindless entertainment, or saying yes to every invitation so I could say yes to my vision. This is the deal you're making over the next 3 months. You are not chasing balance. Balance is a beautiful word, but in seasons of transformation, it's not your friend. What you need right now is obsession with progress. You need to be so focused on who you're becoming that comfort becomes irrelevant. Your old patterns won't bring new results. Think of a rocket launching into space. The amount of energy required to break the Earth's gravity is massive. But once it breaks through, the pull of gravity weakens and momentum carries it forward. That first phase, that's your 3 months. And that kind of liftoff doesn't happen with leisurely effort. It happens through sacrifice, through saying, "This is more important than my comfort." You might have to wake up earlier. You might need to cut off distractions, even people who've been around you for years. You might have to spend your weekends building when others are resting. You might miss a few comforts, but what you gain is movement. And momentum is priceless. Here's the secret. Comfort feels good now, but costs you later. Sacrifice feels costly now, but pays off richly later. Which future are you building? Don't misunderstand me. This doesn't mean live in misery. It means live intentionally. It means make decisions based on who you want to be in 90 days, not who you were yesterday. Growth isn't supposed to feel easy. It's supposed to feel like stretching, because the stretch is where the strength is built. When you train your body, the muscle only grows under resistance. When you train your mind, it's the same. If you're not feeling the friction, you're not expanding. So don't be afraid of the discomfort. Lean into it. Use it. Let it remind you that you're not stuck anymore. You're moving. Make it practical. Ask yourself today, what comfort must I give up to gain the momentum I need? Is it the extra hour of sleep, the social scrolling, the long chats that go nowhere? Identify them and start cutting. Don't do it gradually. Do it deliberately, because once you build momentum, something magical happens. Effort gets lighter, belief gets stronger, and you start to feel the power of transformation. But you'll never get there if you cling to ease. You have to choose. Do I want comfort or do I want change? For these next 3 months, choose change, choose growth, choose momentum, and leave comfort behind where it belongs. Transformation isn't just about reaching a goal or ticking off a checklist. No, real transformation goes much deeper. It's about becoming someone you weren't before. It's about the person you shape yourself into during the journey, not just the destination you arrive at. What you become is infinitely more important than what you get. Now, you've heard the saying, success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. This couldn't be more true. Success is drawn to the person who has developed the inner qualities that attract it: discipline, resilience, persistence, and character. If you want success to follow you, you must start focusing on building these invisible strengths. Strengths that no one can see, but everyone can feel. When you work on your goals, yes, you're aiming to create tangible outcomes. You're setting your sights on wealth, health, influence, or any of the countless dreams you have. But the truth is, these things won't last unless you've developed the person capable of handling and growing them. The wealth you acquire, the influence you build, and the success you achieve will only stay with you if they are supported by a strong inner foundation. Think about it. All too often, people achieve success only to lose it later, simply because they didn't take the time to develop themselves along the way. They might have acquired wealth or achieved a dream, but they didn't develop the character or discipline to maintain it. Their lack of inner strength causes them to lose it. On the other hand, those who focus on becoming strong, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, attract success that lasts. Why? Because true strength is something that builds and sustains success, rather than fleeting success that builds only temporarily. Imagine you're building a muscle. The muscle itself is invisible. No one sees it, but you know every time you lift a weight, that muscle is growing stronger, becoming more capable. And soon, when someone looks at you, they don't see the individual exercises that built the muscle. They see the result, a stronger version of you. Similarly, every time you choose discipline over distraction, persistence over quitting, patience over impatience, you are building an invisible strength that will carry you to your goals and beyond. What's crucial to understand is that this invisible strength doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of small, consistent decisions made day after day. It's the effort you put into overcoming your doubts, your fears, and your weaknesses. It's the choice to keep going when it would be easier to give up. These actions, repeated over time, build your character and in turn the strength to handle success when it arrives. But here's the key point. Your character will attract success, wealth, and influence to you. If you are disciplined, focused, and driven by a sense of purpose, success can't help but follow you. The world will begin to recognize you as someone who is serious about their life, their dreams, and their people want to be around that energy, that person who is committed to their growth and success no matter what. And when that success comes, it will be more than just an accomplishment. It will be the natural result of who you have become. You won't be chasing success. It will be chasing you because you've built yourself into someone who is worthy of it. You will have not only achieved the things you set out to achieve, but you will have developed the character to handle them, to grow them, and to make them even bigger and better than before. So as you embark on this journey of transformation, don't just focus on what you're going to get. Focus on who you are becoming. The journey is about growth, about becoming someone who is worthy of the success you seek. The wealth, influence, and success will come, but they are byproducts of the strength, character, and mindset you build along the way. That is the true measure of success, the person you become. Keep building that invisible strength every day, and success will be drawn to you like a magnet. And remember, the best part of this journey is that you can never stop growing. Every day is a chance to get stronger, to develop even more character, and to attract even greater things into your life. The more you grow, the more you become the person who can handle greater levels of success. It's a perpetual cycle of growth and attraction. Keep building, keep becoming, and success will follow. As you approach the final stretch of your 90-day transformation, most people make a critical mistake. They ease off the accelerator. They've put in the work, they've made progress, and now they feel they can coast toward the finish line. But that's not how champions are made. The real test of your transformation is in how you finish the last 30 days. Those are the days that will define not just your results, but the momentum that propels you forward into the next phase of your life. Here's the truth. The most successful people don't slow down at the end. They push harder. They accelerate. They treat the final lap like a sprint, not a leisurely stroll. The reason is simple. How you finish will determine what comes next. Your final 30 days should not be about cruising. They should be about going to war. It's about finishing stronger than you started. When you're in the final stretch, you have a choice. You can either take your foot off the pedal and cruise, or you can push even harder and turn that last phase into a launch pad for your next level of success. It's during this phase, when the end is in sight, that you need to give everything you've got. Your energy, your focus, your commitment, everything needs to be dialed up to maximum intensity. Think about it this way. The momentum you build in the final third of your transformation is the momentum that will carry you into the next 90 days. If you coast now, you're going to feel the drag of complacency as soon as you finish. But if you finish strong, if you pour your heart and soul into the last 30 days, you'll not only finish this cycle on a high note, but you'll set yourself up to start the next cycle with even more energy, more confidence, and more momentum than ever before. This isn't about just getting the job done, it's about going all in. When you're approaching the end of a transformation, you can't afford to relax. There's a phrase I like to use: the last 30 days are your war. You've fought through the earlier parts of the process, the hard work, the discipline, the sacrifices. Now the final stretch is where you put it all together. It's where you prove to yourself that you can push through when it's hardest. Because let me tell you something, the habits, the mindset, the resilience you build in the last 30 days will become the foundation for the rest of your life. You've worked hard for 60 days, maybe 75, but the last 30 days, those are the ones that matter most. They will not only shape the outcome of this 90-day transformation, but will set the stage for what happens after. How you finish will become the foundation for your next set of goals, your next cycle of growth, your next level of success. When you're in the final 30 days, ask yourself this: what kind of person do I want to be in the next chapter? The work you put in now will show up in every area of your life, every goal you pursue, and every success you achieve. It's not just about finishing the 90 days, it's about becoming the kind of person who can handle even